Hello? Hello? Oh! Hello there, boys and girls. Are you waiting for her too? Oh, yes. I'm here because this is the house of the tallest teacher in the town. Yes, and she just happens to be my cousin. Yes, now my name is Gerald, and the tallest teacher in town, she asked me to come here and write down the story of our very special cousin, George. Oh, what a man he was! George was the smartest giant in town. Yes, and the story is fantastic. Now, the tallest teacher in town said it was World Book Day today. Oh, 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 oh! Boys and girls, you are in for a treat, because the story of George, the smartest giant in town, it's the best story. It really is. I hope you enjoy it. Mrs. Watson, the tallest teacher in town, she shall be here any minute. So, I'll see you soon. Enjoy, boys and girls. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone! Happy World Book Day! Isn't this exciting? Now, did you meet my cousin earlier, Gerald? He's one of the loveliest giants I've ever known. He really is. I mean, look. When I told him I was reading the story to you, he said I could borrow his glasses. Do you think? I think I might leave those for now, but he's so kind. Thanks, Gerald. And he's actually left us a story about one of our long lost cousins, George. I think you're going to really enjoy this story today. The smartest giant in town. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched up gown. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop, and it was full of smart clothes. So he bought a smart shirt, a smart pair of trousers, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some smart socks with diamonds up the sides, and a pair of smart shiny shoes. Now I'm the smartest giant in town, he said proudly. George left his old clothes behind at the shop, and he was about to go home when he heard a sound. What's the matter? asked George. It's my neck, said the giraffe. It's so very long and so very cold. I wish I had a long, warm scarf. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his stripy tie. It didn't really match my socks anyway, he said, as he wound it round and round the giraffe's neck, and it made a wonderful scarf. Thank you, said the giraffe. As George strode towards home, he sang a little song to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, but look me up and down. I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a river next, and on a boat stood a goat who was bleating loudly. What's the matter? asked George. It's my sail, said the goat. It blew away in the storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his new white shirt. It kept coming untucked anyway, he said, as he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat, and it made the most magnificent sail. Oh, thank you, said the goat. George strode on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. But look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. Does look pretty smart, doesn't he? George came to a tiny ruined house. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice, and they were all squeaking. What's the matter? asked George. It's our house, squeaked the mother mouse. It burned down, and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a nice new house. Dear. Cheer up, said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. It was giving me blisters anyway, he said, as the mouse and her baby scrambled inside. The shoe made a perfect home for them. Thank you, they squeaked. George had to hop along the road now, but he didn't mind, and as he hopped he sang to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat is a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. George came to a campsite next, and beside a tent stood a fox who was crying. What's the matter? asked George. It's my sleeping bag, said the fox. I dropped it in a puddle and now look at it. I wish I had a warm, dry sleeping bag. Cheer up, said George, as he took off one of his socks with diamonds up the sides. It was tickling my toes anyway, he said, as the fox snuggled into it. It made a very fine sleeping bag. Thank you, said the fox. And George hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. Next, George came to a big, squelchy bog, and beside the bog stood a dog who was howling. Ow! Ow! Ooh, ooh, ooh. What's the matter? asked George. It's this bog, said the dog. I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck in the mud. I wish there was a safe, dry path. Poor dog. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his smart new belt. It was squashing my tummy anyway, he said, as he laid it down over the bog, and it made an excellent path. Thank you, said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind, and he hopped on, singing to himself. My tie is a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, my belt held the dog who was crossing a bog. But, oh no, my trousers are falling down. I'm the coldest giant in town. Suddenly, George felt sad and shivery and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and thought, I'll have to go back to the shop and buy some more clothes. He turned round and hopped all the way back to the shop. But when he got there, it was closed. Oh, no, cried George. He sank down onto the doorstep and a tear ran down his nose. He felt as sad as all the animals he'd met on his way. And then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. George took a closer look. My gown, he yelled. My dear old gown and sandals. And George put them on and they felt wonderfully comfortable. I'm the cosiest giant in town, he cried, and he danced back home along the road. Outside his front door stood all the animals that he had helped that day, and they were carrying an enormous present. Come on, George, they said, open it, open it. George carefully untied the ribbon, and inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and a card. Look inside the card, George, look inside the card, cried the animals. So George put the crown on his head and opened the card. And inside, this is what it said. Your tie is a scarf for a cold. Well done. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a... Good. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and gown of the kindest giant in town.